Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the second day of Lightning Talks. We are here to celebrate International Archives Week, now in its 7th edition, and we will be hearing some groundbreaking ideas and research on the sub-theme Archives in Society, Changing Perceptions. And our overall theme, of course, is Archives are accessible. Now, a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. There will be some presentations conducted in Spanish, in which case, if you would like, you can opt for closed captions, which will give you automatically translated subtitles in your language of choice. To enact this, you just go to the bottom of the screen where you will see 3 dots and you can click it and you can opt for transcription. Secondly, formats, how it's going to work. Each presenter will have 5 minutes to talk about their topic, and then we will have 5 minutes of questions. In order to ask a question, you just have to go to the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen again and type it in there, and then I will read out the questions at the end to everyone. And I'd just like to say thank you to all our speakers for being here today, for sharing their ideas, and thank you as well for everyone who is attending this event. It's great to see that there's such an interest in International Archives Week this year. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our first speaker, Shamsher Singh from India, who will be talking to us about how archives can preserve collective memory of social movements in India. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone, those who have joined, and my gratitude to International Council on Archives for giving me this opportunity. My name is Shamsher Singh, and I teach sociology here in Pune, India, and I will be talking to you about my experience of documenting farmers' movement in India that took place in the year 2020-21. So the larger issue that interests some of us is how archiving of people and social and mass movement can be a significant documentation to preserve a wide range of memories and experiences that people have experienced during those movements. Now, I would take you through some of the ideas that some of us have been working with, that we need to also keep in mind that relevance of these kind of documentations is not just merely for academic purpose, but since we are all aware that a number of social movements and political processes have been already documented by official and unofficial sources, there requires a people-centric documentation of these developments. They serve as an important repositories to go back and look at what exactly had happened. This is, of course, not to deny that academic exercises are of less relevance, but since academic discourses and academic documentations have also certain limitations and restrictions in terms of their reach, the digital sources which can be used to host these kind of documentations and archives can reach to the larger masses. So the idea behind developing this archive during the 2020-21 farmers movement came from this particular motivation that we should retain these experiences in public memory to serve the larger cause of people's involvement in these things, in these important mobilizations. So the main motivation and the idea to create this kind of documentation came with the interest to serve this documentation in the public repository, make it more accessible, and to contribute to the issues of land, agricultural wages, and laboring out in different forms in rural and urban areas. Now, a quick snapshot of the methodology that we have followed to create this archive is to do a real-time documentation of the events that were taking place during the farmers' movement, which lasted for more than a year at the borders of the national capital city, Delhi. But even before that, a few months had gone into creating a a base and foundation and a favorable condition for the larger mobilizations that continued and sustained for more than a year. So in short, it serves as a real-time documentation which have a larger authenticity also, because one can see the events and document them as they were happening. So it's not necessarily relying on the media reporting or the official reporting per se, but if one has a real-time following up of these events, it becomes more authentic and legitimate to put them in the events and protest activities. So this is something that took place during documenting this movement. Quick snapshot of what this archive shows and what people can how people can access this archive. It exists as a free public repository on internet. One can Google it by typing pafp.in or People's Archive of Farmers Protest. Now, the website which we have designed and which is very easy to use for general public, those who are interested, they don't necessarily have to have some kind of academic exposure necessarily. We show different pages on this archive, on this website, about the archive, of course, to give a brief introduction, also the purpose and the objectives and the motivation and the ideas that have formed its it has certain tabs which can be used by people to have an idea about what the new farm laws were against which this movement took place, and where hundreds and thousands of people were actively of all ages were on the streets to protest against the contentious farm laws, which are now being withdrawn after that successful mobilization. Now, we also provide a beginning, give a context of how the farm law protests began, and also a history or background to these protests, which covers several decades of timeline before the actual 2022 protest. Because in India, agrarian distress and farmers' suicide and falling farmers' incomes, real incomes, have been a cause of concern. So we have continued to document these in our on our website. Now, currently, if we talk about the breadth and the length of the activities or the protest actions that we have documented here, they approximately 700 events of protest events or mobilizations have been documented, which cover more than 150 cities and towns in India, 93 districts, and 29 states and union territories, and they go beyond the Indian borders, and they also document certain 8 of the countries that have also experienced in solidarity actions by different people. Now, what it has served as a source to write more about and informing the academia and the larger masses about the protest, it has helped us to write several papers and to contribute to the scholarship on this movement and bring out different aspects and a people-centric perspective and understanding of the farmers' movement, to understand it closely, to, in a way, understand the character of these mobilizations. We have been able to produce certain writings over the last 5 years, and the documentation or the archive has been a critical source in informing our understanding about these. The latest publication, which we have brought out last year, is a People's History of the Farmers Movement 2020-21, published by Routledge. And this again functions as a collection of various kinds of experiences from India and abroad that people, through their participation, experienced. Now, we have the Insta page for our archive, which can be found on @PAFP India, and a Facebook page. Both these platforms are very actively maintained by my students, who have very with some commitment, have been doing scholarly research and posting it on the social media handles of the archive every week, and they have been very consistent with it. Now, if some of you have any questions, I can take and reflect on those during the discussion time. And if if it interests you, you can write here on this email and also find the website on internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shamsher. I thought that was really fascinating. And we have one question. This is from Gisela Trujillo, sorry, in Tokyo. Said, thank you very much for your presentation. Within your curation process, do you consider mainstream media coverage as well as alternative ones? And if so, how do you assess possible biases of the source material and production?
Okay, thank you, Sophia, and thank you, member of the audience for this question. So there have been certain checks and in place before we documented the actual reporting from the mainstream media, and we all know that the media is highly biased in terms of reporting, in terms of also highlighting what not only reporting but also in terms of giving it a different kind of character to malign certain aspects of the mobilizations which go against the state and the authority. We actually consult a wide range of sources before we authenticately document and put them in archive. As I mentioned, most of our events have been documented by taking the help of the handles and the social media pages of the activists, the unions, which publicized those activities, and also by following the official communication by the central leadership of the farmers movement. So once they have mentioned something that has happened in this thing, that has gone with some kind of assurance and legitimacy into our archives. But we have ensured that anything that has been reported by mainstream media has been thoroughly checked before we document it in the archive.
Great, thank you. And we just have one more question, two more in fact. The first one is from Mohammed Mirza, wanting to know when was the data collected? And another one is just a query from someone from Francis Garaba, wanting to know if you're going to be at the Spontaneous Memorials Conference in Manchester.
I will be at a conference in Manchester, in the University of Manchester, from 16 to 18. That is Alternative Futures and Power Protest, organized by our colleagues at the sociology department there. I'm assuming that's the same conference our member of our audience is referring to. So the first question, response to the first question is that, so it's a since I have been interested in studying the rural and the agrarian relations in our country as a doctoral student and also afterwards, it made me curious about how this farmers movement
I think you've frozen. You froze there, Shamsher. Sorry, I think your answer.
Okay. Am I back again? Okay. So the time which in preparing this documentation is exactly the time when the farmers movement was taking place. So it starts from more actively from September 2020. Since it's a real-time documentation, each day a couple of hours would go into just looking through the internet, okay, what all has happened today. So that used to be my routine for almost 16 months. That each day I'll spend a couple of hours on internet consulting various sources, and to maintain the authenticity, I prefer to have a real-time follow-up of the events. So it's exactly what the timeline on the archive on the website shows from September 20 till December 2021 is the timeline which went into, which is the time which exactly went into this thing. So yeah, this was like a daily routine for me to do it by investing a couple of hours every day for documenting that day's events. So that is why the documentation is date wise. It exactly gives you a date and the type of mobilization and the location of the mobilization also. So 3-4 things have to be put together for this.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Shamsher. That was really great to see how, yeah, documenting kind of, yeah, this rapid response to a social movement is so important. So we're now going to quickly move on to our second speaker. And just to let everyone know, this one will be conducted in Spanish. So if you would like to enact the closed captions, now is your chance. So Claudia Paulo Soto Cabello from Chile will be talking to us about outreach and engagement at the Olga Poblete Archive and Documentation Center. The floor is yours, Claudia.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Saludar al Consejo Internacional de Archivos y a los colegas profesores, profesoras y archivistas que están en distintas partes del mundo. Bueno, voy a adjuntar la presentación. Ahí. Bien, mi exposición se llama Del archivo al aula, transformando percepciones desde los sentires de época. Voy a presentarles un poco el archivo, algunas estrategias de dinamización, algunos criterios para elaborar nuestros guiones y breves comentarios sobre Olga Poblete. El archivo y centro de documentación, Olga Poblete es el archivo histórico del Colegio de Profesoras y Profesores. Esa es la organización que agrupa la mayor cantidad de docentes en nuestro país. Nuestro archivo tiene 11 fondos documentales, aproximadamente 9 metros lineales, un catálogo online, un depósito y una sala de atención al público. Eh, los contenidos, el acervo de nuestro archivo versa sobre profesores destacados y organizaciones magisteriales. Desde los años 20, tenemos 1920, tenemos documentación. Dentro de nuestras estrategias de dinamización cultural que queríamos compartir, tenemos algunos eventos como por ejemplo participación en rutas de memoria, la que ven allí ustedes, se realizó a propósito del golpe de Estado de 1973 y en donde todos los años se recuerdan los docentes que fueron perseguidos o caídos, ¿no es cierto?, a propósito del golpe de Estado. Y también acá actividades como el Día de los Patrimonios, que es la fiesta cultural de Chile, donde todas las instituciones culturales abren sus puertas al público y es un evento muy, muy participativo, donde participa mucha gente y nosotros también estuvimos ahí presentes. Otras estrategias que también nosotros utilizamos son las visitas pedagógicas de estudiantes de pregrado y la elaboración de guías pedagógicas en donde buscamos trabajar con documentos, ¿cierto? Documentos del archivo y poder vincularlos con los planes y programas de estudio de los estudiantes de primaria, secundaria en nuestro país y activar mucho acá lo que es la vinculación, por lo tanto, entre pasado y presente, ¿ya? A propósito de que estos documentos tienen reflexiones muy vigentes. Dentro de los criterios para abordar los guiones y donde buscamos activar también la transformación de las percepciones, partimos del abordaje que hace Jacques Derrida, ¿cierto? Con su icónica texto Mal de archivo, y entendemos el archivo como una tipología de diversas tensiones. No lo entendemos como una instancia, ¿no es cierto? El archivo no es neutral, tiene distintas posiciones cuando describimos, cuando identificamos y cuando también difundimos y divulgamos. Y dentro de nuestros guiones buscamos considerar tres ejes. La historia de la archivística en nuestro país es porque todavía es muy desconocida la relación entre el desarrollo de la archivística y la historia de nuestro país también. Y allí vamos puntualizando, estableciendo hitos para darla a conocer. Asimismo, historia y creación del Colegio de Profesores y acerca de la profesora Olga Poblete, con lo cual voy a pasar para ir cerrando la presentación. La profesora Olga Poblete es una destacada docente multifacética. eh, ella se desarrolla en variadas dimensiones, ¿ya? Y quizás de las más importantes tiene que ver con la defensa de los derechos de las mujeres y también como internacionalista también la defensa de la paz y la autodeterminación de los pueblos. Ella es una inspiración para nosotros. Guardamos documentos con total vigencia de las reflexiones internacionales y femeninas que ella realiza en muchos ámbitos y con la cual también buscamos con algunas de sus citas provocar la reflexión en quienes, ¿no es cierto?, participan con nosotros en las distintas actividades. Creo que estoy en la hora, así que lo dejo hasta acá.
Gracias, Claudia. That was brilliant. That was really interesting to see how you're getting the next generation of archivists training and involved with these projects, and also fascinating to hear about the Archive Centre where you work in particular, and learn about the woman who was behind it. If anyone has any questions that they would like to put in the Q&A box, please go ahead now. We will also hopefully have time for a few questions at the very end, so if something comes to you later. Okay, I think in that case, we will move on to our third speaker. Again, gracias, Claudia. That was fantastic. So next up, again, we have two speakers for this presentation. And again, they will be speaking in Spanish. So once again, I encourage you to enact the closed captions if you would like. At the bottom, you just click on the three dots and you can opt for transcription of your language preference. Okay, so straightforward. So now we will have Heisbell Espinoza and Mariluna from Venezuela, and they will be talking to us about the creative ways to promote archival awareness. Ladies, it's over to you.
Gracias. Saludos. Queremos agradecer a los organizadores de ICA por esta invitación y a todos ustedes por la atención. Mi nombre es Marilyn y junto a Heisbell Espinoza somos el equipo de Archiven y tenemos un programa para fomentar la cultura archivística en nuestro país. Aquí todos los presentes conocemos el valor estratégico de la información y la importancia de tenerla organizada para nuestras tareas del día a día. Pero, ¿qué sucede en estos entornos en donde no se está familiarizado con esta premisa? Bueno, a pesar de que todos manejamos información, las personas que no son del área no conocen la importancia del valor estratégico porque esto es un intangible. ¿Y qué ocurre cuando las personas sí son del área del manejo de la información? Se presentan problemáticas como que muchas de las personas del área de los archivos no actualizan sus conocimientos en las prácticas actuales de gestión documental, y también se presentan situaciones de fallas de divulgación archivística, marketing archivístico, ausencias de campañas de sensibilización que promuevan las nuevas prácticas en gestión documental y la dinamización cultural de los archivos. Y en este sentido, viendo este escenario, esta problemática, para la necesidad con la que nace este programa de cultura archivística es promover el manejo adecuado de la información y la divulgación del contenido de los archivos. ¿Por qué cultura archivística? Realmente porque la palabra cultura proviene del verbo latino cultum y esto significa etimológicamente cultivo. Esto se refiere a las actividades, al conjunto de conocimientos, creencias, costumbres y valores que comparten ciertos grupos de personas. Y la palabra archivo, que proviene del latín archivum y del griego archion, significa principio y origen, ¿no? Y por esto se habla del culto al inicio, del culto al origen de las actividades del hombre, que vienen a manifestar sus primeras impresiones o testimonios escritos, y son los archivos los encargados de resguardar esta información para las futuras generaciones y para la memoria. Entonces, con esta premisa nace la cultura archivística y esto se refiere a este conjunto de actividades que se realizan en función de difundir este conocimiento, las buenas prácticas archivísticas, los valores, las actitudes, todo lo que promueva la adecuada gestión de los documentos, además de que se preserve, que se le dé el adecuado acceso y uso y resguardo documental a este tipo de información, ¿verdad? Y que desde estas instancias se promuevan las actividades para la difusión, la difusión del contenido de los archivos, la dinamización cultural de el contenido de los mismos y de igual manera que se pueda dar una proyección del patrimonio documental para las futuras generaciones. Por esto es que al aportar estas soluciones nace la cultura archivística para dar respuesta a esta problemática y este programa en Venezuela persigue el objetivo de la promoción de los valores, de las actitudes, de las buenas prácticas archivísticas, la dinamización y la difusión cultural de los archivos. Esto para fomentar el valor de una adecuada gestión de los archivos, de los documentos y garantizar que se pueda transmitir a las futuras generaciones de investigadores y de colegas en la preservación, la documentación y el acceso a la información de la memoria histórica del país. Muchísimas gracias.
Muy bien. Así como dijo mi compañera Mari, nosotros tenemos este programa de cultura archivística con el objetivo de fomentar y promover los buenos quehaceres de los archivos. Este programa es completamente filantrópico, es un programa de responsabilidad social que nosotros tenemos y nos hemos planteado ciertos objetivos que hemos venido cumpliendo a lo largo del transcurso de que ha comenzado este programa, y ha sido como primer objetivo fomentar la importancia de los archivos y su beneficio para las sociedades más transparentes y justas, a través de medios de comunicaciones digitales, obteniendo como resultado, bueno, que hemos hecho entrevistas en televisión nacional, entrevistas en radios, entrevistas en podcasts nacionales e internacionales, precisamente para generar y promover que tengamos buenas prácticas archivísticas y que se conozca el valor de los archivos. De igual manera, hemos tenido como segundo objetivo efectuar conversatorios con paneles de expertos en el área documental y temáticas importantes para realizar actualizaciones gremiales. Bien sabemos, particularmente en Latinoamérica, que nuestra formación necesita un poco de actualización y nuevas teorías documentales. Entonces, bueno, nosotros abrimos este enlace, esta conexión para precisamente que existan redes profesionales en el mundo. Hemos tenido un buen seguimiento y visualizaciones de alrededor de 1.322 personas a través de YouTube, de Instagram y las diferentes redes sociales, al igual que Facebook. De igual manera, generamos contenidos a través de las redes sociales para crear conciencia de las buenas prácticas archivísticas y que nuestros colegas, que son al final nuestros usuarios, y abogados, contadores, etcétera, conozcan, los otros profesionales conozcan realmente que existe una profesión que es muy importante, que además hace gestión documental y puedas llevar esas buenas prácticas a tu día a día. Como objetivo 4 tenemos escribir artículos relacionados con la cultura archivística, por eso nosotros abrimos un blog en nuestra página de Archiven, Soluciones.com, y tenemos conformado un contenido que se llama Architips, que damos algunos tips con relación a las buenas prácticas archivísticas. Como objetivo 5 tenemos como efectuar programas de formación directamente con metodologías archivísticas. Lo hemos hecho en el área jurídica, en contable, con emprendedores y en condominios. Actualmente hemos realizado un módulo de organización de documentos jurídicos en alianza con una institución, y de igual manera hemos trabajado con diferentes alcaldías en Venezuela y compañías y algunas empresas. Nuestro último objetivo específico es promover e incentivar normativas y políticas y ordenanzas en el área de los archivos. En nuestro caso, en Venezuela, la legislación venezolana tiene mucho por qué fortalecerse y nosotros tuvimos la oportunidad de ser corredactoras de la primera ordenanza de archivos en un municipio venezolano. Entonces, empieza a tomar en cuenta a los archivólogos y este papel tan importante que hacemos nosotros desde nuestro nicho. Nuestra población objetivo, bueno, son los ciudadanos, instituciones públicas, ONG, empresas nacionales e internacionales, público especializado y emprendedores. Hace algunos años, cuando empezamos este proyecto, que realmente aún es un niño, nos propusimos conseguir ciertos desafíos, aumentar visibilidad, hacer algunas redes, y hemos tenido la oportunidad de actualmente seguir nuestros programas de formación, impulsar en Venezuela lo que es las buenas prácticas archivísticas y la conciencia del valor de los archivos. Además, estamos trabajando actualmente con la Asociación Latinoamericana de Archivo en el grupo de dinamización cultural y tratar también desde nuestras trincheras en Latinoamérica de promover la dinamización cultural, la función social de los archivos y todo lo que es la visibilidad de ese uso de los archivos para fortalecer la difusión del patrimonio documental, nuestra imagen pública de los archivos, que particularmente en Latinoamérica hay que fortalecerla muchísimo. Y bueno, para culminar, queremos primero que nada agradecer este tipo de iniciativas, tener la oportunidad de participar en la Semana Internacional de los Archivos y que podamos socializar esta información alrededor del mundo para nosotros es muy importante porque precisamente queremos invitarlos a ustedes a replicar estas iniciativas en sus países y crear conciencia sobre la importancia y el valor de los archivos para crear sociedades justas y transparentes. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias, Heisbell and Mariluna. That was brilliant. It was really interesting to hear about your archival cultural program. So we have one question so far. It is from an anonymous spectator. They have said, raising awareness is great work. What were the main challenges you had to overcome in having those conversations with various organizations? Were there any hostilities?
Sí, precisamente tenemos muchos desafíos. Nosotros, como dijimos al inicio, es una actividad completamente filantrópica, es decir, la inversión viene desde nuestro amor y nuestra pasión por los archivos. También tenemos el desafío de mejorar la imagen del profesional de la información, porque particularmente en nuestro país, si bien es reconocido, hay que hacer un trabajo muy arduo con las otras profesiones, porque todos manejamos información en nuestros quehaceres, pero también hay que generar precisamente las buenas prácticas. Nosotros estamos comenzando ahorita con un programa que viene enraizado del programa de cultura archivística, que es el del archivo a la escuela. Es una iniciativa que mi colega Mariluna creó y me parece fantástica y creo que va un poquito de la mano con la ponencia anterior y es precisamente que los niños desde pequeñitos conozcan que si bien manejamos información con nuestros archivos personales, nuestros archivos escolares, podamos precisamente organizar esa información con una metodología específica. Y así desde pequeñitos vamos generando esa conciencia.
Gracias. I have a question myself, actually. I think you spoke a lot about how social media is obviously a great way to raise awareness and share the work that you're doing and with your blog as well, of course. But I wondered for people who are not skilled in technology or perhaps older generations, how you try to reach out to them.
Sí, para las generaciones que no tienen el manejo de estas tecnologías de información y comunicación, hemos presentado las charlas directamente en los auditorios, en las comunidades, también con los programas radiales, los programas televisivos, y ha sido una manera de también llevar esta información tan importante sobre la difusión cultural de los archivos y la importancia de el uso, el manejo y la difusión del contenido archivístico a las personas que no manejan este tipo de tecnologías y que puedan estar incluidos también en este entorno de manejo de información.
Gracias, Mariluna. It's great to see that you really do include all generations, and it's a wonderful inclusive program. Thank you so much again. So now we will move on to our final speaker, Aliya Khalidi from Lebanon, who will be talking to us about storytelling as a way of preserving theatrical memory in Beirut. So, Aliya, the floor is yours whenever you would like.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I would also like to thank the ICA for giving us this platform to be able to talk about our very passionate project about archiving the history of theater in Lebanon and the Arab world eventually. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Aliya Khalidi. I'm a theater director, I am an actor, and I teach at university. And I've established this new foundation called FADA Foundation, which is a Foundation for Arab Dramatic Arts. Now, I just want to give a little bit of a background because we have to understand that the absence of archiving culture in Lebanon is very prominent, because Lebanon has been through a multitude of very unfortunate events in the past 40 years, including wars, destruction, devastating economic collapse, the third largest bomb explosion in the world, which all of these contribute to a lot of destruction. So unwavering Israeli aggression, which is still ongoing at the moment, and a corrupt government, unfortunately. So theater archiving has had no central independent body or even like government organizations to document and preserve the rich heritage of theater in Lebanon, and definitely no funding. So as you can see, this is one of the theaters. It's in shambles. It used to host Fayrouz, the very famous Lebanese singer, in her musical theaters. So now today, this is what it looks like. So we decided to establish and explore, to provide like access to our rich theater heritage. As a group of theater practitioners, directors, actors, playwrights, academics, all kinds, designers, we have evolved and we have decided to establish this organization to have theater become much more accessible. So FADA's two main avenues are material archiving, which we all know, for example, books, whether it's actually physical material or digital material, like videos of plays that have been shown, or possibly, you know, just tickets from a certain play a long time ago. And then we have another avenue, which is the live archiving. And this is what I want to talk about today. So live archiving, we started off with the idea of being 5 generations of theater practitioners and asking them to stand in front of a live audience, you know, a public, you know, and let them tell their stories. So in this process, we get the history of these 5 generations of theater practitioners, some of them may not actually write their biographies. Some of them, may not be very keen on keeping their own information, or they don't maybe see the impact and the importance of it. So we got them together and each one of them told their story. Then we started expanding and we got to what I want to talk about most is the project called Come Trace the Past. In Arabic, it means Imshi Netzakkar. And what it is basically reviving Beirut's theatrical heritage through immersive urban storytelling. So we created a walking tour. We spotlighted 4 historic theaters: Piccadilly Theater, Al Madina Theater, Babel Theater, and Théâtre de Beirut. Unfortunately, only one of these 4 that are in one neighborhood, which is called Ras Beirut, the kind of in the capital, is only one of them is still functioning. So in this area that used to have maybe 15 theaters, now there's only one that is functioning, and in the entire city there may be 6. So this is very, very unfortunate, and people pass by these theaters and they don't know what they are. So we decided to combine site-specific storytelling, archival material, and community engagement, all in a tour that transforms, the urban space into a stage, and it kind of widens the imagination. Now, each theater stop featured a living archive, which is like a prominent practitioner who shared personal anecdotes. They came and stood in front of the theater and talked about, their own narratives. And the participants in the walking tours also received a QR code that showed images and information, and especially composed musical score accompanied them as we were walking along. And I just want to show you this video, which shows exactly, the sentiment of how it is, how we diffuse this information to people who had no idea. It could be researchers or just the curious, curious citizen. So I'm going to ask the organizers, please, to put on the video, if possible. Do I have to stay?
Clemence will do it for you. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you, Aliya. That was brilliant. It was so interesting to hear about this concept of a living archive and then to actually see the video and see it in action. Really, you could just see the joy and enthusiasm of all the participants. So that was great. Thank you. We have a question. It's from an anonymous spectator. They say, "This is wonderful. Do you ask the participants who come on the walk to share their own photos and videos as part of the growing archive too? Do you capture feedback as evidence?"
Yes, we brought in theater practitioners who had had experiences in these particular theater venues, and they told stories. One of them, for example, told the story about how he was sitting in a cafe opposite the theater and he saw smoke coming out of the theater, and some electric mass had happened inside, although it's closed, but something had happened, and they called fire engines, and so yes, each one of them provided us with some photos and some anecdotes, which they actually told the participants right there and then, and these are all added to our archive, which we then collect as well and make accessible to everybody. So the whole idea is that I teach at university, and my students come to me and say, "Where can I get archives on Arabic theater?" There is very little information on the internet. So I used to give them my books, and then they never brought them back. So I said, no, this is not going to happen that way. We have to have a foundation that makes it accessible. So we are working on the website. We still haven't completed it, but eventually it will contain all the information. And we will also have like a walk-in place, because in Lebanon, academic institutions that do have some archives on theater, it's very difficult to get access into them. And that's why we want to be somewhere in a public place where people can just walk in, watch a video of an old play that they had seen, or whatever information they can get. They can come in and they can participate. We can have residents who will, resident artists who may want to do some research at FADA, and so on. So this is the main idea.
Thank you. It really is a fantastic initiative. So we have a few more questions, one which is from Gafar Rizgala, and they've said, "It is a very interesting idea. Have you thought about making a mobile theatre so that you can reach rural areas?"
Yes, we haven't, we're not, we thought about mobile theatre because we're all theatre practitioners as well. So we also do theatre. So for example, we have like a project that would be we call it a performative exhibition. And this performative exhibition will be, let's say we take one of the prominent actors in Lebanon or anywhere in the Arab world, and we focus on them. We do an exhibit, but at the same time we have one actor or actress playing roles from the major plays that this actor used to perform. And that way we give information about this actor who has been lost, long since forgotten. And that we will put in a like truck or something and take it to the rest of the cities and do it in a public space. But the other thing is that there are lots of theaters that have been also closed in the provinces, in the north and in the south. But also one of the problems is the Israeli aggression is always there, and it's not always so safe. So at the moment we're doing it more, Beirut centric.
Brilliant. Thank you so much again. So we have just 10 minutes left. So I'm going to suggest now that if anyone has any other questions from previous presentations, or equally, if some of the presenters have questions they want to ask to their fellow presenters, now is the time where we can have a bit of a discussion. So I'm just seeing a few more questions have popped up on the Q&A box. One from Francis Gabara, who said, lovely presentation to you, Aliya, I think that is. Due to the continued instability, how are you safeguarding this collection for the future in terms of protective measures?
It is one of our most difficult areas because, as you may know, we are subjected to Israeli aggression all the time. So if they decide to bomb a building right next to us, then our archive will be, gone. I don't know, but hopefully not. But also safeguarding, we are digitizing and putting them on a website, so that way it will have access, digital access.
Thank you. We have a question for Claudia Paolo from Catherine Clay. It is, I would love to hear more from Claudia about memory routes as cultural revitalization strategy at her archive. Was this a digital project or an in-person event or both?
Rutas de la memoria, entiendo que se hace la pregunta. Fue una actividad presencial, a propósito que en nuestro país es habitual que se realicen eventos culturales conmemorativos, en este caso de la fecha del golpe de Estado. Hay distintas actividades para recordar los sucesos de ese momento, el cual impuso una dictadura y bueno, nosotros nos sumamos en relación a la vivencia y al sufrimiento de los docentes por ese hecho puntual en esta ruta. ¿Ya? Eso puedo agregar. Si entendí bien la pregunta.
Yes, okay, I think yes, you answered that perfectly. We're getting a lot of comments from people asking everyone to share either website links or social media accounts, because all the presentations have been so interesting. So speakers, if you're happy to maybe put those links in the chat box, that would be fantastic. And we're also getting other comments just saying congratulations to everyone and really unique and special initiatives. There's one other question, which is, I think, again, replying to your project, Aliya. Do the visitors share their own photos and videos of the tours in action?
Yes, of course. You see, because we compiled a QR code for each participant, we had spoken to these practitioners who came and met us at the entrance of the theaters, and we asked them to share whatever photos they may have or videos, and we put them in the QR code and links to them. But eventually we plan to actually go into the theaters themselves and we did into one which was open, but we also plan to go and open some of the old theaters that are closed and walk inside so people get a feel of the history and the heritage and the beautiful architecture of these places.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I'll just take this moment again to say thank you so much to all our speakers who participated, and thank you as well to everyone who came along to watch these lightning talks. We will have another session this afternoon. So please, the link will be shared shortly in the chat, and you can also find it on the ICA website if you'd like to see some more. And we also have lots of other webinars happening throughout this week. So really join in when you can. And I wish you all a very, very happy International Archives Week. Thank you very much from the ICA.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
you.